Hey everyone, Chloe here, and welcome back to this feminine platform, and welcome back to my soft power channel. And if you are new here, ladies and lurkers and ear hustlers, welcome. So I wanted to share my deeper dive thoughts on this very critical court of public opinion and very polarizing pregnancy launch that has ruffled a lot of feathers and has caused people to lose sleep, and a lot of people are crying and throwing up over a pregnancy announcement, and has raised the equally important question on whether or not a woman can be just as guilty of grooming a much younger man as a man can be guilty of grooming a much younger woman. So the comments should prove interesting. Now, on a positive note, before I get to the grooming and for house cleaning purposes, I wanted to address the ongoing explosion of single mothers. And I first wanted to share my very unpopular opinion about having babies. But I first want to start by saying congrats to Draya on her pregnancy in spite of the ugly circumstances, and best wishes for a healthy baby and a healthy delivery. And at the age of 39, for her third child, I pray that she can become the mom of her dreams. And whether y'all like it or not, I'm always going to take the feminine soft power approach, because unwed motherhood, although I do not recommend nor do I endorse it, but clearly no matter how many people continue to moan and groan about unwed motherhood appears to be here to stay, because the biological imperative to have children will always be stronger than the opinions of complete strangers. Now, I will always endorse that a woman should do the inner work to have a real family unit, and I will always encourage a woman to make the best hypergamous choices possible for themselves. But at my feminine core, no, I do not believe in viciously attacking and harassing women who are pregnant in circumstances that are considered less than ideal. Sorry to disappoint you, and this message is especially for my feminine family, my feminine listeners, but I am not into womb policing, because I think that harassing a woman who is with child is the most unfeminine thing that you can do, and is a nasty, nasty line of work. Plus, it just isn't feminine or ladylike behavior to be that aggressive or that hostile over how a woman arrives at motherhood. At this point in the feminine game, there is a ton of surface level up information out here, and these fully grown women know exactly how babies get here, and we all know that babies are not delivered by the stork. So for the life of me, I cannot understand why women are coming to this feminine platform with the expectation that a feminine woman and a feminine educator who very much lives a soft feminine life to do their junkyard dog dirty work in order to satisfy your hunger to see others shamed and constantly humiliated. Sorry y'all, but I will never become a pit bull in a skirt to drag other women. Now, are there lessons to be learned? Absolutely. But not to mention, there are a ton of hate bucket channels where you can have your bloodthirsty needs met to see women dragged for filth. But on this channel, my energetic preference is to educate and to enlighten. Not to mention, I might crack a joke here or there, and I love having a sense of humor. And yes, lots of women are capable of moving dirty and making very dumb mistakes, but I've made them too. And I need to say this, but karmically, I am also very fully aware of the spiritual consequences of going out of your way to not wish others well. Because what I do know for sure is that the hole that you dig for others will be the same hole that you fall in yourself. And I've seen it time and time again. And you can be a non-believer in karma all you want, but we all have watched countless creators who build platforms of hate and shame and who love to dig a hole for others, and they almost always tend to get the same energy returned to them twofold, threefold, sometimes fivefold. Plus, I personally love to sleep well at night, and while I will never endorse poor choices, it is a soft power decision of mine to also live and let live, while I continue to teach women how to get the best out of their own feminine lives, whatever stage that they are in. So as far as I'm concerned, whether a woman is married or not, if a woman wants her baby, then her baby is her blessing. Now, what is so interestingly unique about this Draya Michelle case study is that it opens up a conversation on what grooming is all about. And sadly, what Draya has accomplished with her pregnancy will always be associated with the grooming and the exploitation of a young man's lust, whether we like it or not. Now, what exactly is grooming? I am glad you asked. Grooming is a very complex psychological process where manipulation, seduction, behavioral training, and ultimately exploitation are used to produce specific results that are in favor of the groomer. It is a lopsided power dynamic that is based on a younger person's lack of life experience and is based on a younger person's lack of maturity. And we all know that younger people who, although are sexually legal of age, that people under 25 will typically lack maturity and or life experience as they are at the very beginner stages of their adult life. This is why women typically tend to hate when older men pride themselves on only dating much younger women who lack life experience, because those women will more than likely be exploited, especially if that man is a dusty. Now, I am not always against younger women dating older men, but I typically will only recommend it if that woman is being wifed and is being handsomely provided for through the principle of the hypergamous life, as opposed to the word salad and the struggle of being manipulated by a dusty, an older dusty, who doesn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. So for my younger listeners who are listening, who are ear hustling, please do not date an older man who cannot provide for you. Otherwise, he will be robbing you of your youth. And for a deeper dive on that topic, you can listen to my How to Strategically Date an Older Man video. But in many ways, grooming can be considered a catch-all or an umbrella term for a specific set of psychological actions that a fully grown, experienced adult can use to assert inappropriate control and power over a child or a vulnerable person. A vulnerable person, to me, is a person who is very inexperienced with life and is a person who is very inexperienced with understanding power. Think Diddy with Cassie or Diddy with Young Miami. To my younger listeners, a groomer has a plan of action and a plan for your life way before you can see it coming and way before you can even get a chance at becoming aware of it. That is why grooming is so slick and so tricky and so sinister, because it is a frog in cold water until it boils process that happens over time. Now, is Mr. Jalen Green some innocent victim? Absolutely not. He is of legal age, and yes, he's old enough to understand how babies get here, and more than likely, Draya and her amazing curves was his Instagram fantasy, and so he folded. But now the playtime and the fun games are over, because nothing would kill the lust and the fantasy faster than ever with a man-child than having a baby on the way. But this situationship speaks more to Draya's character, her motivation to get her needs met, and her willingness to go this far for a cash register baby as a strategic 401k retirement plan. And whether she likes it or not, the public backlash to her pregnancy announcement was severe and very scarlet letter punishing for a reason, because we all know what it feels like to be young and dumb and 22 and full of you know what, because you are literally at the beginner stages of your life, and although you might be sexually active, you are very much still wet behind the ears, and you are very much still trying to figure out what life is all about. And that is why the narrative for this pregnancy announcement will always be framed in a very negative light, which in the long game will cause a lot of mental suffering and a lot of mental anguish for Draya and her reputation, because the court of public opinion is not going to take their foot off of her neck for making such an extreme pregnancy choice. Now, hypergamous cash register babies have been happening since the beginning of time, but it does come off kind of suspect to know that Draya has a son that is the same exact age as Jalen, not to mention her doing an entire maternity Instagram launch on International Women's Day without Jalen in the picture by her side at all. It speaks volumes and is very telling, as the two people who are responsible for causing this pregnancy should always be a united front. So she didn't even present this pregnancy with the both of them together, which has ultimately positioned her to catch all of the flack, all of the heat, and all of the smoke. And at the very least, in the case of Marquise Houston, say what you want, but he made that young lady his wife. Now, what I want to do is to address this very nasty whataboutism, and the men do it too, cognitive dissonance that many clapping women are using to Draya's defense, which is very telling, because when a man does it, what part of it's equally disgusting do you not get? Because two wrongs won't ever make it right. Age gap relationships where a young person's maturity has not had a chance to develop in spite of their sexual capabilities are the prime ingredients for grooming, whether it is a man doing the dirty work or whether it's a woman. So yes, a woman can groom, and yes, ladies, a woman can exploit a man who lacks maturity for her own come up. So any woman who's co-signing this basically is telling you that she's low frequency, that her boundaries are foul, and that she do the same to your son. Now, I know that women like to live vicariously through women who by any means necessary will do whatever it takes to get to the bag, but Draya will suffer all of the court of public opinion judgment and all of the mental health problems and the spiritual consequences of having a baby by a man child whose maturity isn't fully developed, because all choices, whether we like them or not, will come with consequences. So no, she will not have the easiest or a very peaceful happily ever after. And while she may reap the financial benefits of securing the bag, she's also going to reap the dire spiritual consequences that come with this choice, because this choice alone, this choice by itself, will set her up to be alienated, harassed, and taunted for the rest of her natural life. And not to mention, the oh so very familiar mama bear baby cub dynamic will happen. And it goes a little something like this. Once Jalen's maturity starts to develop and expand and deepen, he will also move on and find a woman his own age to start a family with, which will completely bother the women who continue to put themselves in these situations, because Draya will not be this young man's last stop at the rodeo of his young life. But at the age of 38, this is the Thotimus prime bed that she has made. And Draya Michelle is very accustomed to being an unmarried, habitual single mother at this point in her life. So she went for the hypergamous kill to secure herself for the next 18 years. But just like the case of Keisha Cole and her young baby daddy, Mr. Nico Kale, who has now moved on to a woman his own age, and the same with Shakira and her younger baby daddy who left her for a woman his own age, and the same with Brittany Renner and PJ Washington, who went on to become a husband and marry and have a family with a woman his own age. These situationships almost always end up with the younger man wanting their own life, their own agency, their own power with a woman that is his peer. So ladies and lurkers, my question to you is, does this situation look like hypergamous winning to you? And is all money good money? With all that face and body and above average insider access, why couldn't Draya Michelle not find a man in her own age bracket, and for conversation purposes is being perceived as a groomer worth securing the bag by any means necessary? And as always, I thank you for listening, I thank you for watching, and I thank you for subscribing. And please share this case study video on grooming if you care, to further grow our feminine community. And please stay tuned for more videos to come, and I will catch up with you ladies and lurkers and ear hustlers in the next one.
Do you want any more kids, or are you done?
Oh yeah, I want more kids.
Like how many?
Like one, I think.
So like the person you're dating, you see like a future with them?
I think the question you were asking me is if I wanted more kids, and I feel like I want more kids, and
Yeah.
I feel like at this point in my life, right?
Yeah.
The relationship is amazing to have, right? But that's not what I'm basing having a kid on, because
Right.
I'm very non-traditional. I feel like you can co-parent without being in a relationship. Maybe just two people say, "Hey, you want a kid? I want a kid. Let's just have a kid, and like let's just see."
Really? So you would
I'm
do
very
that?
like free spirit. I'm very open and just